Star Trek. Voyager is just one character away from a full crew reunion like TNG. Star Trek: The Next Generation is still the only classic show to have a complete reunion in the franchise's modern age, but Star Trek: Voyager is just one character comeback away from achieving something very similar. Although it would be exciting for modern Star Trek to complete its Voyager lineup, the Sky-Fi saga will probably never repeat what it did for Patrick Stewart's Jean-Luc Picard and the rest of the USS Enterprise's crew when they were all invited back to reunite as part of the Star Trek Picard cast. Instead, Voyager's crew will need to settle for something close. All the classic Star Trek TV shows have an ensemble cast, and although various characters do occasionally reunite at other points in the timeline, everyone rarely gets to be on screen together again once a show ends. However, members of the Star Trek Voyager cast have been receiving quite a lot of attention of late, with almost every main star now having come back to the franchise in some way. All it'll take is one more actor to reprise their Voyager role in the modern era, and it'll be a piecemeal full set. Modern Star Trek just needs B'Elanna Torres to complete the Voyager crew. Roxann Dawson played Chief Engineer B'Elanna Torres in all Season 7s of Star Trek Voyager, but she hasn't reprised her role as the Klingon hybrid since the show's finale in 2001. This may not seem like a significant piece of information in isolation, but when it's considered that all other members of the main cast have come back to the franchise in the post-Star Trek Discovery era, B'Elanna's absence sticks out a fair bit. Although there is the argument that Jennifer Lionskes would also be needed to complete the crew, she was replaced mid-run and hasn't acted since 2001. The first to return was Jerry Ryan in 2020 as 7 of 9 in Star Trek Picard. Tim Russ also briefly joined Ryan in the Picard cast as Tuvok. The Star Trek Prodigy cast boasts the most Voyager comebacks, with Kate Mulgrew's Admiral Janeway, Robert Beltran's Captain Chakotay, and Robert Picardo as the Doctor. Star Trek Lower Decks gave a guest spot to Robert Duncan McNeil as Tom Paris, and also allowed Garrett Wang to come back as several versions of Harry Kim. Ethan Phillips also revisited Neelix in a very short Treks episode called Holograms All the Way Down. Why B'Elanna still hasn't come back in Star Trek's modern era? Most of the original Star Trek Voyager cast is still actively working as actors, but this isn't the case for Dawson. Her last acting credit was in 2011, and since then, she has transitioned exclusively into behind-the-scenes roles within the industry. She has primarily been directing since stepping away from acting, and has worked on huge projects such as Agents of SHIELD, House of Cards, and Apple TV Plus Sky-Fi shows like Foundation and Dark Matter. Despite her career shift, there is still hope that she may eventually return as B'Elanna. Just like his Star Trek Voyager co-star Robert Duncan McNeil has also largely retired from acting. Also like Dawson, his priority has been on directing and producing. Most recently, his focus has been on the Alan Tudyk-led Sky-Fi dramedy Resident Alien, and before his cameos in Star Trek Lower Decks, he hadn't acted since an episode of Chuck in 2012, a show in which he was also working behind the scenes. So, although a Star Trek The Next Generation style reunion may be very unlikely for Star Trek Voyager, a surprise comeback from Dawson could still provide the next best thing. There's a unique kind of magic that happens when the bridge crew of a Star Trek series reunites. It's not just about nostalgia, it's about the chemistry, the legacy, and the idea that the final frontier always has room for one more mission. We saw it with Star Trek Picard, where the entire Next Generation cast was brought back together in Season 3 for an emotional, pitch-perfect reunion. Now Star Trek Voyager stands at the edge of that same wormhole of possibility, just one character away from a full crew reunion that would thrill fans and honor a pivotal chapter in Trek history. Voyager, launched in 1995, was never the flagship show of the franchise, but over time it carved out its own place in Trek lore. With a diverse crew, compelling arcs, and the first female captain leading a series, it pushed boundaries in quiet, groundbreaking ways. Catherine Janeway, played by the ever-commanding Kate Mulgrew, proved that the captain's chair wasn't reserved for men, and in doing so, she inspired a generation of fans. Over the years, Voyager's cast has slowly been re-entering the Star Trek universe, making cameos, voicing characters, or showing up in behind-the-scenes roles. Janeway herself returned in Star Trek Prodigy, leading a new generation of wayward cadets, both as a hologram and in her real-life Admiral form. Jeri Ryan's 7 of 9 was revitalized in Picard, transforming from a stoic ex-Borg into a fully realized, multi-dimensional character, eventually even becoming captain of the Enterprise G. Robert Beltran made his return as Chakotay in Prodigy, re-establishing his bond with Janeway and deepening his own character's lore. Meanwhile, Garrett Wang, Harry Kim, Roxanne Dawson, B'Elanna Torres, Tim Russ Tuvok, Ethan Phillips Neelix, and Robert Duncan McNeil Tom Paris have all maintained their ties to the fandom through conventions, cameos, and continuing affection for their roles. So what's missing? Who is the final piece of the puzzle? That would be the Doctor, the emergency medical hologram played with such wit and heart by Robert Picardo. Picardo's Doctor was more than comic relief or a clever piece of tech. He was Voyager's beating heart. His arc from just a program to a being with agency, creativity, and a name sort of is one of the richest in the entire Star Trek canon. He grappled with sentience, struggled with identity, and gave some of the show's most powerful emotional moments. A reunion without him feels incomplete, like playing the Voyager theme and skipping the last note. The beauty of bringing the Doctor back lies in the character's unique nature. As a hologram, he doesn't age, at least not visibly. That gives writers a compelling in-universe reason for his unchanged appearance and opens up a spectrum of storytelling possibilities. He could be practicing medicine at a Federation outpost, mentoring young holograms on ethics, or even working alongside Starfleet intelligence, using his adaptability for off-the-books missions. In a universe that constantly flirts with the line between machine and sentience, the Doctor is the ultimate case study. There's no shortage of enthusiasm from fans either. Voyager has experienced a renaissance in recent years, as new generations discover the show on streaming platforms. Fan campaigns and speculative pitches for a Voyager follow-up have only grown louder since Picard's success in reuniting the TNG crew. If anything, the Picard series proved that there's still plenty of space left in Trek's galaxy for stories about legacy characters, especially when told with care and emotional resonance. Could a Voyager reunion series happen? It's more realistic now than ever before. With Prodigy reintroducing characters and Star Trek Legacy rumored to be in development, there's a growing appetite for legacy storytelling across the franchise. The emotional payoff of seeing Janeway, Chakotay, Seven, and the rest of the crew share the screen again would be immense, not just for fans, but for the actors who poured years into their characters' development. And let's face it, Starfleet reunions are more than just fan service. They're opportunities to reflect on the passage of time, the evolution of ideals, and the price of exploration. They're stories about friendship, duty, and healing. In an age where our real-world technology is beginning to mirror Trek's dreams, revisiting these characters offers not only comfort, but also perspective. All that's missing is one holographic physician with a penchant for opera. Robert Picardo has expressed openness to returning to Trek, and given the right script and setting, there's no reason it couldn't happen. Whether it's in Prodigy, a cameo in Legacy, or a surprise appearance in a future special event, the door is wide open. Bringing him back wouldn't just complete the Voyager crew, it would give us one last chance to see what happens when a ragtag group from the Delta Quadrant reunites, decades later, to remind us what made them special in the first place. So,